Now, can you remember the times where you sat down and you were anticipating as a teenager what adulthood would look like for you? You know, the stage growing from childhood into adulthood could be bumpy, it could be frightening, it could be confusing because you don't know what to expect. As you grow, changes happen on all levels, and statistics shows that teenagers actually are prone to mental illness, not being able to balance life at that stage. You see that they get involved in drug abuse, taking alcohol, illegal acts like that. Now, could this be that they were not well prepared for that stage, or it's just what the society throws at them? We are about to find out on Tea or Coffee this morning, and joining me on this episode of Tea or Coffee this morning is Okpeyemi Ogunyomi. He is an educator, and it's so good to have you in the studio this morning.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm
excited to be here
too. Go first.
Okay, so before we went on, before we started this, we were already having a conversation on raising teenagers. So I'd like to ask this question first. How do you know a well-raised teenager? What are the characteristics that you look out for to know that, you know what, this child is well raised? I'm not talking about the regular cultural aspects where, oh, the child has knelt down, yes, they can grade, or the child has prostrated, yes, a very good child. A proper raised child, what are the characteristics that you should look out for?
All right. Thank you for having me, first of all. I would like to start by saying that for you to recognize a well-raised teenager, you would have to, you'll see a teenager who is self-aware, all right, who understands his strength, weakness, you know, what his values, because I believe so much so that values are the pillar of life. So you would see, and values are not values until they are tested. All right, so you can't say you value honesty if you have the privilege to lie and you lie. You don't value honesty. You can't say you value sexual purity if you have the privilege to stay in a room with a guy and that's not your value. So really, you would see a teenager who will stand his or her ground, whether he's been washed or not.
Okay, before we continue with the conversation, don't forget that you can actually join in the conversation by calling the phone numbers on your screen right now, +2347051432258. Call us, let's know what your question is for Okpeyemi, who is currently sitting with us in the studio this morning. Okay, so before I go on with my next question, I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What are you among those group of people, you're smiling, among the group of people that would say, oh, adulthood is a scam?
I am.
I am. To be honest.
I've read Uncle, adulthood is a scam.
You hear people say, why didn't they tell me this is what it, because as a teenager, you anticipate being an adult, the freedom, all that comes with adulthood. And at the end of the day, you get there and you realize it's not what you think it is. So what goes on? What is the thinking process like? What goes on at this stage?
All right. Let me use the school system as an example.
Okay.
If you meet a student who is studious, who attends classes, such student won't be shocked at the questions that the examiner or the teacher will set in the exam hall, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So the reason, when you meet most people that say adulthood is a scam, you could trace it back to how they were being raised. Let me shock you. Most parents don't understand parenting skills. All right, there's a difference between a 19th century teenager and a 21st century teenager. Like, the temptations are different, what they are exposed to are different. Even the way things are done are different. Media is different now, all right? Before you send letter using post office and all of that, but just with your phone, you are everywhere. All right, so what these teenagers are exposed to are way different to what their parents were used to. So a lot of parents need to know how to parent their children. You can't learn it by just your whims and caprices, all right? You need to be learned, because in psychology we believe that every behavior can be learned and unlearned, right?
Yes.
So the reason why most young people will tell you adulthood is a scam is because they were not properly prepared, they were not properly raised to face the challenges that wait for them. And the teenage period is so interesting. It is filled with several, I love to call it turbulences. It's like you're sailing on the sea and there are different bumps and all of that. So there's a way to navigate through. And one of the ways that will help people prepare well for adolescent stage is, number one, understand how the teenage brain works. It's so interesting. The day I realized that solve a lot of headaches for me, so I know how to relate to my teenagers better. It will interest you to know that the unused connections in the teenage brain, once you approach the puberty stage or the adolescent stage, those unused parts that you didn't use when you were a child will be pruned away. Because the brain has this mechanism called use it or lose it. If you don't use it, you have to lose it. You know, it's part of nature. So those parts you didn't use when you were a child will be pruned away. And this change starts from the back of the brain to the front side. So the front side is called the prefrontal cortex. So that is the part that is being remodeled last. And that's the part responsible for decision making, thinking processes, and all of that. So because that prefrontal cortex is the one that's been remodeled last, teenagers tend to rely on the part we call the amygdala to make their decisions.
All right.
Now, the amygdala is associated to emotions. All right. So they make decisions based on their emotions. And I tell them all the time that emotions are bad leaders and good followers. So you could train your emotions to follow your decision. So you can't say, I just feel like doing this, I can't stop doing it. No, you can actually train yourself not to do it.
All right.
So, but this boils down to how we raise our teenagers, the kind of values we imbibe in them, all right? I tell parents, don't raise your teenagers because of when you're around. Raise them for when you're not going to be around. All right. So.
All right.
I'm actually curious to know is it possible that you are fully prepared for what life would throw at you?
Can you ever be
fully prepared for adulthood?
You can be fully prepared. However, if parents teach their children to take risk, you know, risk-taking abilities to ask questions. Questioning is a skill any young person should learn.
Being inquisitive.
Because if you ask the right questions, you will get the right answers.
Okay.
All right. So
doesn't that depend on whom you're asking or how you're asking the questions?
That's part of the questioning skill. There's a way these things are learned. There's a way we can have a conversation and we're talking and I know you're lying.
True.
Right? So you can learn all these things. That's why we have what we call life skills. All right? Time management, self-awareness, goal settings, questioning, public speaking, you know, even cooking skills. Because the time when you think it is only the female child that should... No!
Well, that time has passed.
It has passed because you need to eat to live. All right? So every teenager should be taught how to cook, table manners and all of that. So these are things that should prepare them for what they will encounter, such that if they are faced with a challenge, although their dad and their mom didn't tell them this is how it's going to look like, because nobody really knows the future, all right? Because of those skills, you'll be able to tackle them. They are like tools that you go to war with. Nobody knows what the war is going to look like, but you have to prepare. You don't learn how to shoot a gun on the battlefield.
No.
You learn how to shoot a gun before you go to the battle, all right? So if parents can teach or prepare their children for the challenges ahead, irrespective of how the challenge is going to be or is going to look like, they will surmount it.
I'd like to know, what is the proper way to raise a child in this century, because things have changed?
There are general stages of application.
All right.
Parents should be open-minded, be ready to learn. And it's so simple. If I want to learn a new language, what do? I go to places where people who speak that language are domiciled at, right? So I interact with them, I talk to them. So while we are doing that, and I have this open mind, in no time I'll learn the language. Now, teenagers have their own language, all right? So just spend time with your children. Spend time, observe, be open-minded. And there are several workshops for parents to learn 21st century parenting skills now.
All right.
All right, so go for those classes. Don't say, I gave birth to them, I know what to do. No, there's a method. There's a way to raise your... And children are different. We are unique. All right, so you learn to relate to your child based on his or her own uniqueness. So you wouldn't have to compare maybe your second child to your first child. They are two different people. All right. So but you wouldn't know that if you're not observant. So you learn, okay, this is where my child is strong at, this is where this child is weak at, and you learn how to manage it. All right, so the basic thing is for you to be open-minded, learn. But most parents are not ready to learn. And most parents they live in denial.
What do you mean?
Now, this is what I mean. They think teenagers don't know anything. They actually do. Media is there. They have friends. They go to school. They go to school where they mix with different children from different backgrounds, with different exposures. So they know a lot. And they are very, very smart. Very smart because information is everywhere right now. So stop living in denial by saying, oh, my child does not know anything. That child knows quite a lot of things that even you are not aware of. So stop living in denial. Engage them. You may not bring yourself down to their level as it were, but you can be friendly with them. Create the right atmosphere where your teenager can walk up to you and share their thoughts with you. And teenagers always test their parents. So a teenager is going through a problem in school or with his or her friend, and he will test his or her mom, or his mom or her mom, or his dad or her dad by saying, Dad, you know what? A friend of mine is going through this.
Exactly.
And I need to give him a counsel. What do you think?
What do you think I should do?
What do you think I should do? So most parents will go, are you sure you're not the one? Okay. But if you finally meet a teenager who open up to you that, okay, this is me, and the teenager asks you, please do not tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody. The day you do that, that teenager will never trust
you again.
It will take a special, miraculous service.
Okay, so change is something that is constant.
Yeah.
You would, as a teenager growing, you would encounter different changes. And sometimes you hear stories about teenagers who want to commit suicide because they are not used to that change or that part of life, and it feels like that's the end of the world. Meanwhile, it's really not a big deal if they are able to talk to someone to encourage them and make them know that they can do better. So how then can they adapt to changes that come their way during this period?
The first thing is it starts from the home.
Okay.
And you'll notice that I'm just talking about parents.
Yes.
Parents, because they are the primary principal they are the primary custodian of these children.
But the teenagers have roles to play also.
They have roles to play, but like I said, we were not born with knowledge itself. We pick these things. All right, as a parent, you should understand that you need to sit in the driver's seat of your children's life. All right, if you're driving, you wouldn't want to leave the steering to chance. That's an accident that is about to happen. So you channel it to where you want it to go. Children are like, even in the Bible, the Bible says that children are like arrows in the hand of the mighty. An arrow is very sharp. An arrow can pierce through anything. But you need a skillful archer to launch it to the right direction. Just like a bullet. Bullets can destroy. Bullets are very powerful. But if nobody pulls the trigger, bullets cannot move out from the gun. All right, so this thing still boils down to parents. All right, you need to learn how to point your children to the right direction. You need to prepare them for what is ahead. So create a right atmosphere in the home where it is friendly enough for your children to talk to you. The first sign of depression is isolation.
Yes.
And nobody wins a battle in isolation. All right? But if in an atmosphere of love, everybody talks to each other, you would even notice withdrawal symptoms in your child. You'll notice that, oh, this boy is not talking. Once you notice a child who talks before and suddenly moves into isolation, you need to talk. You need to ask him what's going on, what's up with you. You need to find out what's going on. Is he being bullied in school? But if you are too busy, you leave the house by 4:30, 5 a.m., you don't get to even see your children, or you have to drive them to school and they were sleeping in the car, and you couldn't get back until past 10 at night, no relationship between your children, they will leverage on their friends. And what do their friends know too?
They pick up things from what
things
they don't,
things that they shouldn't pick.
Yes.
But if you as a parent, you are deliberate. Most parents are not deliberate about what they want to see in their children's life. You need to be deliberate. All right? I know you want to make money, you want to do stuff, but if you make that money and your child is not giving you joy, you yourself will be depressed because they bear your name.
Very true.
You'll be depressed at some point. So you need to put a balance to it and create the right atmosphere. Because once there is engagement, once there is relationship, if you did not build it from the childhood, don't expect to have it at the adolescent stage.
Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the videos we've posted and the new ones we're going to be posting. Yes, and click on the bell. It's just down here. Click on the notification bell to get notifications of more videos. Yes, thank you very much. Bye.
This boils down to how we raise our teenagers, the kind of values we imbibe in them, all right? I tell parents, don't raise your teenagers because of when you're around. Raise them for when you're not going to be around.